James Twin for the untouchable true school sports. Let's go, baby. Bow!
Be careful what you wish for because it can become a reality.
Yeah. The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. And y'all know the rest. Listen, this is my official Antonio Vargas versus Winston Guerrero post-fight review. And the result of the fight is an Antonio Vargas stoppage victory, an emphatic stoppage victory in the 10th round. So let's talk about it, because this is a fight that, even for a channel like mine that covers under the radar type of fights that people aren't paying attention to in boxing, I didn't even get a chance to really talk about this fight when it got made and when it got signed. So definitely happy I got a chance to watch it, because it delivered. I knew it would be a great fight. Vargas dropped Winston Guerrero in the first round. Guerrero came right back in the second round and then dropped Vargas with an overhand right. So, you know, it was very nip and tuck early. I think it was very, very nip and tuck for the first 6 rounds, 6.5 rounds. But then Antonio Vargas made some adjustments. I think he was the sharper, crisper, cleaner, more precise puncher, and the harder puncher with the heavier hands. So, Winston Guerrero couldn't afford to exchange with Vargas too much, because if Vargas would punch Guerrero in between the shots and countered him, he would have an effect on him, and that's exactly what happened. He kept doing that throughout the fight, just draining him to the body with really clean and effective body punches. And, he beats the brakes off him in the 10th round and gets the stoppage. So, it's a valiant effort from Winston Guerrero. I like Winston Guerrero. I made a prospect review video about Winston Guerrero around this time last year when I first learned who he was. I knew he was a good fighter. I knew that he was going to come to fight. I knew he was very game. But this fight, I think what the difference was in this fight was just more so like know-how. The know-how that a fighter gets from not just amateur experience, but being in tough fights and going through adversity in your career. And one thing about Antonio Vargas is he's been through, I think, in his career more adversity than Winston Guerrero. He was a highly touted amateur prospect. Coming into the pros, was signed by Top Rank, lost a fight in his first 5 fights, got dropped by Top Rank. Then shout out to Box Lab Promotions. They picked him up, and they've been building him back up. And he beat Jonathan Rodriguez earlier this year in a really good fight. And then now he comes back and he beats Winston Guerrero, a guy that I know for a fact was very hungry. He was 20-0 from Nicaragua, but just didn't have, I think, the experience or the know-how to deal with Antonio Vargas. So I think Guerrero will come back better. I think Guerrero will remain a factor in the bantamweight division. I just think Guerrero needs to do a better job in the future of, he needs to throw his punches to actually hurt and damage the opponent, because he has naturally heavy hands. I think he was trying to outwork Vargas, which I think was the right strategy, but he didn't have the defensive know-how to hold his feet and really make those shots count and get this guy off of him. And after the 6th round, that really was to his detriment. So I think Winston Guerrero will be back. I think he's a player in the bantamweight division. He'll get more fights in the future. But let's talk about Vargas, because as I mentioned, he's got a great story. Was a top amateur, signed by Top Rank, was pegged to do some big things in the professional ranks. But boxing is very crazy, because you could be one of the hottest properties in boxing, one of the hottest young names in boxing out of the amateurs. And then you lose a fight, and your promoter can drop you just like that, like a bad habit. That happened to him. But he's a good example that your promoter dropping you losing a fight early in your career, you having a setback, that's not a death sentence. You can come back. You can make a big name for yourself. You could still be a great fighter even if you lose a fight early in your career. And look at him now. He stops Guerrero in the 10th round in a really entertaining and memorable fight. And he is the WBA interim bantamweight champions, which basically means that he is the WBA mandatory challenger for the bantamweight belt, which is currently occupied by Japan's very own Seiya Tsutsumi, who I just interviewed here on this channel a couple weeks ago. So, very, very interesting potential fight. If Tsutsumi can't get the unification fights, and he has to fight as mandatory in Antonio Vargas, then I think this is a very interesting matchup, because Tsutsumi isn't as much of a, he's a wild fighter, but I think even his style is more structured than a Winston Guerrero. I think Tsutsumi is going to bring similar challenges, being a pressure fighter, very strong. I think he's a stronger fighter than Winston Guerrero. I think he's a more durable fighter than Winston Guerrero. And I think his pressure has more layers to it, as to where Winston Guerrero's pressure, you know, he's got 20 fights, but, you know, he hasn't really had too much top-level experience or experience against live competition. So I just think that really showed in the middle and later parts of this fight. And I think with Tsutsumi, he's been in there with some good names in Japan, you know, Daigo Higa, Takuma Inoue, Kazuki Yanaguchi. He's been there with some real hitters. So you're fighting him. Vargas is fighting a more experienced, more dangerous guy with more educated pressure. But I think what Vargas has shown in his career against Jonathan Rodriguez and now Winston Guerrero, from what the fights I've watched of his, he showed the ability to know how to adapt. And yeah, he is a bit. You can hurt him, you can drop him, and you can, you know, really put him in an uncomfortable position. But he knows how to handle. He knows how to be cool under duress, which is a very important quality to have in boxing. So I think that's going to be very key for him. And these experiences he's had against Winston Guerrero and Jonathan Rodriguez will be very big for him if he is to get a Seiya Tsutsumi fight, which I think he will at some point in time. So. Yeah, really good fight. Antonio Vargas, you know, he's not one of these fighters that runs his mouth. You're not going to see him on Twitter talking trash. I mean, in fact, he's very much a positive guy, very humble, talks about God and the Lord and Jesus and just, you know, talks about the right things, you know. And, you know, so he may fly under the radar because he's not a big shit talker or anything like that, but he can fight his ass off. And he's been, every time, this is my second time seeing him fight, and I've been hearing a lot about him because he's from Florida. So you hear names in the Florida boxing community all the time. I've been hearing his name for a long time, and he's definitely made an impression on me. And I think he's ready for a world title shot. And I give him a chance. I think the Tsutsumi fight, you know, it's gonna be difficult coming here to Japan to beat him, but he showed the know-how to adjust, and he's a really good body puncher, and just overall a really good performance, a quality performance, a tactical performance, a real professional performance from Antonio Vargas to become the WBA interim champion. So that's my synopsis, that's my take, that's my analysis of Antonio Vargas stopping Winston Guerrero in the 10th round. Big salute to Winston Guerrero. I think he'll be a player in the division. You know, he definitely didn't go out like no punk, and he represented the Nicaraguan flag very well. But Vargas becomes the mandatory to Seiya Tsutsumi. So yeah, interim champion. Big things ahead for him. So yeah, leave your comments down below. What do you guys think about that fight, Antonio Vargas versus Seiya Tsutsumi? Leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe, like I say in every single one of these videos. You can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Ding. So until next time, take it. Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. For more great boxing content just like this, make sure you guys click right over here.
Keep watching my boy BT put on the best interviews out here.